There, Buttercups. Your resident Teabelle here. Welcome to Hark, 'tis the Teabelle. Let's dive in for that tea today, huh? So today we are diving into one of the oldest hotels in Savannah, the Marshall House Hotel. This house has a very colorful past of enchanting charm, and it actually has retained some of the original features, such as the beautiful brick walls and glamorous staircase. And this hotel was meant to be a hotel, which makes it very unique. Let's get into it. Mary Marshall built the hotel in 1851 on inherited land from her father, Gabriel Lever, on Broughton Street. Ralph Meldrum, a proprietor, built what would become one signature fashion, an iron veranda in front of the property, 120 feet in length by 12 feet wide and high. The hotel reopened to the public in 1859, having fully been restored, i.e., renovated, repaired, and refurbished. In the years of 1864 and 1865 during the Civil War, it was known as the Union Hospital until the end of the war. It was also used as a hospital several times during the yellow fever epidemics. In order to protect the hotel and other properties in Savannah, they founded the Marshall Hose Company, and this was a volunteer fire department. It would go through several restorations. They increased the capacity of the hotel by a third by annexing the adjoining building known as Florida House in 1880. They closed the hotel down in 1895, but added electric lights and baths with cold and hot water so they could reopen in 1899 for a second time. Herbert W. Gilbert leased the building and rebranded the hotel as the Gilbert Hotel in 1933. But only 8 years later, Gilbert had to sell the hotel and 8 stores. The property now features a lobby, dining room, living room, reading room, 66 guest rooms, 1 suite, 1 apartment, and 6 storage rooms. It was reopened for a third time in 1946 with another full renovation. This house, y'all, has gone through a lot of renovations in its time. Now, at 106, it closes again in 1957. To make the hotel fully legal, i.e., compliant to current state fire laws, it wouldn't be possible to do that on a short term lease. So, 41 years later, in 1998, they began to do renovations once again. During this time, restoring began with a bang, okay? Workers found human remains as they were replacing damaged floorboards downstairs. Of course, this halted the restoration procedure and it began a criminal investigation. It was remembered, though, that this place had served as a hospital. But it came to light soon after that this particular set of part of the hotel was used as a surgery room. So this is when historians came to the conclusion that these were simply amputated limbs from Civil War soldiers. Now, in 1999, only a year later, the renovations are completed and it reopens for a fourth time to the public as Savannah's oldest hotel. The hotel was purchased by HLC Hotels Incorporated in 2001. This was a Savannah-owned and operated hotel management company. They completely renovated the guest rooms and suites in 2008 and the lobby and the library in 2014. So some things that it did get noticed for, the hotel was featured on the Travel Channel's Greatest Hotels in 2003, Travel Channel's Haunted Hotels in 2004, did Best of Savannah in 2004 and 2005, named as one of the Coastal Living's top 20 places to stay in 2008, and voted as the Best of Savannah and Best Boutique Hotel by Savannah Magazine in 2014. So this house is extremely, it was definitely a project as far as I can tell. Now don't fear if you hear any of the following, okay? Faucets turning on and off, flickering of lights, electric items powering themselves on and off, toilet suddenly overflowing, disembodied voices echoing throughout the halls, doorknobs wiggling as if someone is attempting to enter the room. I know you're probably going, how am I supposed to not become fearful if I hear those things or see those things? But they'll understand. On the fourth floor, you'll hear loud, thundering noises during early morning hours as if a heavy object is crashing to the ground. A warning has been issued for room 306 by one guest. Now, as the original owner of the hotel, Miss Mary Marshall, she chose to stay for her afterlife as well, or so says a young girl. One day, a young girl pointed to the portrait of Mary Marshall, which was painted in 1830 by Peter Lawrence, which proudly hung behind the front desk in the lobby. This young girl told her father that she had seen that lady in the hallway. He was probably surprised and probably a little scared at her, exclamation. No one knows if they stayed too much longer, but hey, kids can see things that we can't see. We know this. Now, you're also going to hear that there have been reports of hearing the sounds of a typewriter coming from a room where author Joel Chandler Harris worked. He was best known for his collection of Uncle Remus stories. A little deep dive into the Uncle Remus history and its author. These are stories of African American tricksters that were recreated in Black regional dialect by Joel. He was a native of Eatonton, literary comedian, New South journalist, amateur folklorist, Southern local color writer, and children's author. He did a lot of stuff, guys. He was known for a lot. The roots of his writings came primarily from African American folklore brought to the New World. Enslaved African Americans continued to celebrate their folklore. There were also roots of European and Native American folklore in these. Now, many writers felt indebted to him because they were able to retell the stories. Brer Rabbit has been translated into nearly 30 foreign languages. Yeah, but there was someone who wasn't so thrilled about what he had done. Alice Walker, Eatonton's other famous literary personality, begrudgingly acknowledged Harris's influence. Alice argued that essentially he stole a major part of the Black folk legacy from its authentic creators. Harris's creations influenced many a children's story hero. Uncle Remus was based on several Black storytellers that he had met while working as a printing compositor on Joseph Addison Turner's Turnworld plantation in Putnam County, outside of Eatonton, and also on an elderly Black gardener he had met in Forsyth, Georgia, which is what we've heard. He was an associate editor for the Atlantic Constitution from 1876 to 1879, and he even contributed several Uncle Remus sketches to them. But he does seem to keep the room for himself, even though, other people, worldly people take it. There have been tales told of a dapper gentleman reading by the window, a lady in white who flows through the hallways, a woman who holds counsel in the ladies' restroom and will on occasion lock the stall door. Crying babies can be heard regularly, as well as the laughter and playful voices of younger children. You might even notice children skipping, running, and playing games in the hallway. At night, they like to play marbles and bounce rubber balls in the hallways. But of course, should you take a look at such noises, nothing will be seen, I'm sure. Rest assured, you probably didn't imagine it. Although children will be children, whether it's in this life or the afterlife. One boy was playing in the bathroom during a stay. The mother thought he was talking to himself, as some children do, until he came out crying, claiming the boy he was playing with bit him. The mother was confused, as we would all be, so she took a look for herself in that same bathroom. She saw nothing and probably questioned him, but she could not question the bite mark on this boy's arm that would reflect a child's height. Interesting. I guess they disagree too in the afterlife. Now, of course, we can never forget that this was a hospital for the Civil War and the yellow fever epidemic, right? So they may have cleared the Civil War bones from the building, but the spirits remained. One poor soul missing his arm urgently pleads with guests to help find a surgeon. And you can smell the scent of rotting flesh on occasion, especially while restoration was being done. Rooms 214, 314, and 414 all had this issue terribly. They tried everything. They conducted, finally, a prayer/blessing, and the smells and vibes relented. Now, 414, though, was the worst. Even though the other rooms were settled, they couldn't help room 414. So, the staff eventually figured out that playing gospel music while they cleaned helped because it was the only way that actually the vibes and odors would stay at bay. People have witnessed doctors treating soldiers from the battlefield, and they have even felt someone holding on to their wrist as if a nurse was checking a pulse. There have even been rumors of a ghost cat. Is it terrible to say that I would love to go see this ghost cat, if I'm being really honest? Like, I really want to know what's going on with the other ones. Talk to them if they would let me. But, I would really, like, I love my cats, and I think ghost cats would be just as cool. But yeah, that's a lot of people. But can you be surprised when Buttercups, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And if you did, and you have comments or questions or even suggestions on what we should be talking about, which I would totally go for, you can email me at harktistheteabelle@gmail.com. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, and the Facebook. Alright. But I hope you guys have a spectacular week, and I can't wait to see you next week.